Recording in
But I think we have to do it down where it might put it. I'm like, oh, put it down just a little lower. But I can where it might put it. More than it's higher. It's like supposed to say. Yeah. That's hot. I love
it. Is anyone else in the Zoom? Can I jump in the Zoom on yours?
Yeah. Oh, you want to hop in the?
I just want to see it. I just want to put eyes on it. If you're doing something right now, dude, focus on that.
I don't need audio.
Chat. Chat does not show up forever. So I can have the chat up here broadcasting forever. And then not, like it doesn't show
Yeah,
up.
so you want to minimize that, right?
No. This is fine. I just want to make sure that this chat part wasn't getting like broadcasted to the.
Oh, cool. Can I exit out? You want me to
yeah.
leave it open?
I mean, that way I can like have eyes on like.
Hey, so MailChimp, we might need to do like in output. I don't know if you have it. Let me check right now. So emails do this funny thing where like you can take where like if you okay, right? So you like stuff in DNS so like it doesn't get caught in spam filters. And it's likely that our MailChimp. Well, I don't know. I just figured. Well, I mean, this is something that I thought of last week. And Jeffrey texted me and reminded me. He's like, hey, this is what I did right. And then I went to spam. I took spam. What?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are we doing I want to sit.
We're not doing it's like a question. Like I don't want to do a lot of like instead of handling it, everyone has to answer the question. Like
no more.
I think I get it. Like jump in and like say like you. I do appreciate how this one stacked up our projectors on the side. We're not staring even of the light out. Kind of like but I'm like I like the other stand up plus everything I'm like yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Whoever has to sign in, they need that open up.
Oh, we're
They're
gonna.
the sign in. Yeah, I will reload. I will reload. Not reload.
We had a 10%.
I have a problem. But you can pick the mic up. Maybe you need to, but we don't. So you'll have to be right here anyway.
We had a 9.5% open rate, which means
Hello.
people open.
There we go.
Is there a Colton Curtis in this room? Come over here.
You have been chosen.
Congratulations.
Fantastic view. How do we get that like view? The view for like he literally spoke between like one and then
I have no idea.
seriously.
I didn't do
Like,
anything.
that was awesome. That's
Just you think it just happened with music?
I don't know, dude. That,
There's a chance that the microphone works with the computer.
that's possible.
If
Yeah,
that's possible, we get a music over the whole video.
basically, yeah.
That'd be great. I'll walk this out.
I got that. Dude, I can pause. That's awesome. I can just like,
Yeah, so your girlfriend's account, their best friend's account, their parents' account.
wait, no,
Stole it.
No?
You want it back?
Wait, why don't you hit play and test this?
I don't want to talk right now.
It should be open right now. I just opened it.
Hey, all, it is 5 o'clock. We'll be getting started here in just a few minutes. So go ahead and like wrap up whatever you're doing, grab a seat, and ready for the meeting. If you haven't signed in yet, go ahead and grab the QR code in front.
Can I play music?
Are we good?
Slide should be good. Yeah.
You need a refresh?
Lots of pretty QR codes.
Yes, I'm going to. That's Zoom.
You should be able to just like escape and then relaunch. Yeah, we're covering NCO this week, the NSA Code Breakers, and career services. There's also just a note that I'm horrible with names. Sabbatical. He his slides. He usually does it like each animation is one slide, so there's going to be a lot of like slides.
Name? I was gonna say, I forgot your name. I would know you by your Discord handle.
Want to just use my
Is that the
laptop?
mic again?
No.
I have another person with a question. Hello.
Okay, you've got chat up.
Is there a David Sheehan? I don't know if I pronounced the name correct. Can you call up here too?
Stupid weather alert system. Weather might not be great when we're leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's okay. Hopefully you brought your umbrella.
I did.
I did not.
I did, but try holding an umbrella on the scooter. Just kidding. I'll just take the bus.
Sarah.
Oh yeah, I should sign in.
Hey, you
How
got
are
a
you?
message from John. You know, you personally got a message from John.
For some reason, I'm a host, so I'm going to abuse this prison.
Please don't, John. Please don't.
You should only be a co-host though. You should be host.
I am.
Yeah, then you
And he is.
already. Yeah, if I'm out night hacks, for sign-in forms, they connect, they collect PIDs.
Really? Yeah. Seems a little invasive.
It is. To be fair, like if you are a member of the club and are on the web course, we also have a PID.
That's true.
And your NID.
Yeah. Can find out if I can.
Damn.
Is that better? The front too?
Is that it?
Good. Better? Okay.
Who's gonna actually say the announcement?
Who's gonna what?
Like actually announce the announcement? Just then,
Do you wanna-
everyone like split it up.
If you want to take a man, you're more than welcome to.
Like if we want to split up, like who does announcements? Yeah, I know you. I would honestly, I think actually that's my. I don't think it's a good act, but you might want to mention it.
Oh, dude. I signed into my Google account, so when I went to sign in, it like brought me to the edit form.
Alright, you guys are ready to go?
I am.
Okay, cool.
I'm moving a sec.
Alright, I'm gonna pull the mic and then
Wait,
put
what
it up
happened to
here.
you?
Matt's got it.
Oh,
Yeah, and Matt's gonna cover the NSA stuff. I
Okay,
could cover the career services stuff if you want.
that's fine. That one does not work. Matt, I need your mic.
It is the mic. Did you get that hooked up with Zoom or no?
Yeah, they can hear still.
With that mic?
What is going on here?
'cause I'm not speaking.
Yeah, that's fine.
Honestly, that's fine, yeah. Just like.
Oh.
Alright.
Wait, I think you have to check one more person.
We need Erica Joseph. Is there an Erica Joseph in the audience? No? Cool. For now. All right, y'all, we are getting ready to start. So if you have not signed in, please go ahead and catch the QR code. There'll be a big one coming up soon. To introduce the new feature, you'll be seeing this every single week, the cyber challenge of the week. Right here, we have a little bit of ciphertext for you to go ahead and try to decode. We're starting the challenges rather small and easy for you all to figure out. And as the semester goes on, they'll get more and more complex. We present the challenge this week, and then slightly after this, we would normally present the solution to last week's. So if you want to catch what this one translates to, come catch us next week and we'll discuss how you go about solving this. Hold on. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
You want me to refresh again? All right, as also discussed last week, we are going to be doing our budget vote this week. So if you are a dues bank member and you filled out all of your paperwork and you attended last week's meeting, then you should be able to vote. Everyone's going to get the chance to vote. Just recognize that if you haven't completed everything, your vote will not be counted. All right, so today's topics, we're going to hit some announcements. We've got current events with Matt. We've got Where Are They Now featuring our alumni, John Singer, who is in our Zoom session. We got Tool Time with Connor going over how to use the OSINT framework to do some digging on what potential jobs you might be after. And then our main event today is Careers in Infosec. We're going to be going over and doing some resume post-mortems, showing y'all some mistakes to avoid and what a better resume can look like, as well as doing a Q&A session at the very end to answer all of your questions. Because we have the big career fair coming up. And if everyone isn't registered for that, you should be. So starting with some announcements, you want to stand up and.
Sure thing. So I guess we can start off with National Cyber League. So are you guys new to CTFs? Do you want to learn how to do the cybers? Then NCO might be something you want to be interested in looking into. It does have an entry fee, which I believe NCO is the only main CTF we push that has an entry fee. But the reason is because it's more geared rather than a competition as a learning tool. So it'll teach you how to do CTFs. But if you are a member of the club, we are going to be having a scholarship for select members, and we'll have more details on that as like the time progresses. As far as what it entails, there are multiple parts. The gymnasium has already started and is pretty much continuing until end of year. And then on October 11th is when the preseason begins, which will then be followed by the individual game. And then if you more want to get like a team experience, November 5th to 7th is when that will be. Also, if you are a bit more advanced and want to try a CTF, this weekend is Seesaw Fall qualifications. So that's happening literally right now. So like we might be in the Cyber Lab afterwards. I'm working on that.
To talk about that real quick, if you are looking for more information on either NCL or Seesaw, we have that information in our Discord under the NightSec header. So just go there, ask questions, and we'll get you hooked up with whatever information you're looking for.
Okay. Hello. Who is interested in working for the Department of Defense? Any raise of hands? So this competition, the Nsa Code Breakers, is hosted by the NSA themselves. It is basically a simulation of what you usually do at work. It's very fun and it's sort of easy at the beginning. There are six collaborative challenges. And then at the end, there are individual where no collaboration is allowed. You go through log analysis, malware analysis, a deobfuscation of code, and so forth. It's very fun and challenging if you're interested in what getting some practice and what you might do in the Department of Defense. This is the challenge to do. It's free. It goes till December 31st, so you can start now and do it as long as you want till December 31st. We are currently in first place. There is a Georgia school that is coming in close second. So please sign up and just even do some simple challenges. The first one is literally just joining the Discord and submitting a flag. It's really fun, and if you need help, at least for the 6 beginners in beginning challenges, you can ask anyone for help. For the 7 through 10, you can't, but please join. And also the NSA summer internships will be opening up this upcoming Monday, that's September 15th. If you're interested in working for them over the summer, you have to get a top secret clearance, which is all sponsored by them if you do get asked to come. So yeah. And that's the link and the QR code.
Okay. Sure. So we got the UCF Virtual Career Fair. By show of hands in the audience, who's been to this? The virtual or in person? Anyone? Got a couple? Cool. Yeah. I did not go to the virtual one last year. I've been to the in-person one several times. Fantastic way to get your resume shopped out to a bunch of different companies. You get the opportunity to ask questions one-on-one with them. It's a pretty good time. Career Services does a fantastic job of helping out, like getting all UCF students internships and or jobs that they really wanted. Going through experiential learning, they can help you take a resume, whatever you have, even if you don't have a resume at all, and help you build one, put you on the right track to be able to put one together. It's inescapable. You'll need a resume, and if you haven't built one already, you should really consider sitting down and doing one. Pre-registration is required via Handshake. You can register at ucf.joinhandshake.com, or you can grab the QR code we got right here. Definitely worth your time, even if you're not looking for an internship yet, you're not looking for a job yet, you think that you're still just a little bit too early in your education. It's never too early to start like perfecting the resume building skills and getting yourself ready to do this, especially asking being able to answer interview questions and being able to be comfortable talking to someone about what it is that you know and what it is that you've done in the past. All right, so now we're going to jump into the budget vote. Go ahead and grab this QR code. It's going to link you to a Google form. You're going to fill that out, and then you're just going to either approve it or you're going to disapprove it. Matt, you want to get up here and talk about what it is that we're putting in the budget?
Yes. Hello, it's me again. So we'll talk about the expenses, which is probably the more important part of the budget. So the way we're hosting the new website is through Squarespace, which costs $26 a month or $312 for the year. And then also for the scholarship for NCL, we will be hosting basically a scholarship for those who have shown interest or it's basically based on merit and participation in the club. So it's about $600, which is about 16 people plus a little more. So 16 people for the scholarship. So that's part of the budget. AWS, if for those who don't know, is Amazon Web Services, where we host a lot of things like the CTF site and some other things as well. So that is for the AWS budget. And now this budget is not exactly how much we're spending. It's what we can spend. So there's also some like overage in case we do go over some things. For the fall and spring events, we have allocated $300 for an event. That can include anything from movie nights, barbecues, and whatever we plan on doing. And for the workshops, there's $500 there for in case we want to buy Raspberry Pis, USBs to make key loggers or rubber duckies, whatever we need to spend on that. And for the unplanned is basically in case something does break that requires an immediate fix, and we have to use money basically for that. Any unexpected or unintended costs that should happen. Sorry, it does show up throughout the year. And then for the income, the dues is what we expect. So $10 a member. So that's about 210 members. That's how much we should expect to make. And then for the shop that we have posted on hackucf.org/shop, that is like our estimated income. And so that's our total member income. Is there any questions? Yeah.
I know how much expenses you plan, but it looks like your expenses is double your income.
Correct. Yes, so we do have a bank account. For those that don't know, we have a decent chunk of money just in excess so that we're able to do some more things rather than solely depending on income every year. So we're not guaranteed to spend all that money, right? It's just like an estimated overage in case we do need to spend that much money. We can spend up to that. We can't go over it, but it's a pretty big buffer just in case we do need to buy some things.
And to elaborate that, $2,000, which is most of the overages, that is, like, hopefully we won't have to spend that.
Yeah, this is I like being better safe than sorry, right? If I cut it down to like actual stuff and we have to buy more, we can't physically allowed to do that. And we'd be screwed over unless we have to make an addendum. But so yeah.
Yeah, to pin that down too, a lot of this is kind of up in the air. As you all know, we're not exactly sure what the rest of the fall semester is going to look like, let alone if we're all going to be allowed to be here in spring. So we're trying to get everything approved in the budget so that if we want to do something fun and we are able to do that, that we have the budget to do so. We're not intending to go over the projected income, but as Matt said, we do have a nest egg sitting in the bank account that does not get used, and we typically don't go over our budget. So this is just to plan for potential eventualities.
Yep. Yeah.
When you look at the funding for spring, is it like for the year round?
So yeah, so you're able to, what I'm doing is I'm kind of just making a fall spring budget, and you can make changes to it as long as we can make changes to it for the spring. This is just like a rough estimate. So makes my life easier.
And also, if we have to add anything or remove anything from the budget, we will have to put another one up in front of y'all, and we will have to do this whole thing again. So we want to minimize the amount of time that we have to push a budget in front of everyone, so we don't spend most of our meetings running budgets and other housekeeping things.
Any other questions on fiscal or anything related to the budget?
Jeffrey, are you monitoring chat?
Are you watching chat in Zoom?
Yep.
Do we have any questions? If we do, will you stop us?
Yep.
Cool.
Cool. Has everyone voted in here at least?
There is one question from the anonymous void. What's your salary?
My salary or
No,
the
Daniel's.
My
Why
salary,
is it not in the budget?
I don't take a salary, not for everything that I do.
We do.
And second, where's our money printer?
We can't legally disclose that. That's secret information.
Yeah.
But yeah, to reiterate, we don't pocket any of this money. Like we put it in our bank account, we never touch
trying to
it.
minimize
And so
it.
all of the money that we don't use will go back to the club in the future. So this is like, yeah. So just one, and it's gonna be awarded to, I think when I did the math, about 16 people, 35 each. And then there's some overage just in case, I don't know, tax, whatever, who knows.
And also, that's not a guarantee, right? Just because we're allocating that we're able to spend $800 to pay for people to do NCL, it doesn't mean we're going to find people to pay for that. Sorry, 600. Just because we're allocating $600 for people to do NCL doesn't mean we're going to just give out that money. If we don't see the right kind of like performance, showing up to meetings, ops, wanting to actually do CTFs, we don't see the need for it, then we're just gonna let that lapse.
Any other questions, concerns, or comments? Okay.
I think we're good.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have 55 votes in, and it is so far unanimous.
Good, cool, that's fantastic.
that makes my life easy.
Well, thanks, y'all. We're gonna get the boring stuff out of the way and onto the more fun stuff. But so far for now, yeah. We still have to do like a whole tally and everything, but later. All right, we're gonna, yeah, I guess round.
Yes.
There's a question from the Zoom. Is there any oversight on how the unplanned dollars are going to be spent?
Oversight?
I mean,
what is that?
I think he's for that like 2,000 like emergency balance, like, is there anything that like is dictating what that has to be spent on?
No, that's
No.
just as Matt explained, it will be, if anything falls into that budget, like that is just going to be an authorization for like something that has broken, that we already have, that the club needs. So it's not just spend $2,000 on whatever we want, it's just, you know, a lump sum just in case we need it for something very expensive last minute.
Yeah, think of it as our quote unquote insurance policy.
Right, on to current events with Matt.
Not me.
The other.
Yeah, the other Matt. Another Matt.
That's okay.
You didn't need that computer anyways.
Oh, I do need this very much.
Hey, guys, I'm other Matt. I know there's two of us running around here, so it can get confusing sometimes, but first off, thanks all for showing up. It's a great turnout. Appreciate you guys all taking time out of your day, but we're gonna get into some wacky cyber stuff that's been going on recently. So, and I kind of took this back a little bit into the summer since we weren't really having these meetings. So the first one we're gonna talk about, I don't know if you guys kind of keep your ear out there and listen, but the Colonial pipeline attack that happened in May was pretty wild. Ransomware attack took down the largest fuel pipeline in the US. And I don't know if anyone has friends or family out there in the East Coast. They were kind of freaking out for a little bit because gas prices were shooting up. There were a bunch of shortages all over. Yeah, it was resulted in complete shutdown of the pipeline. Pretty crazy. The reason was an exposed password for a VPN account. So, but at least the bad guys got caught, you know. Wrong, they did not. They actually, Colonial Pipeline paid them 75 Bitcoin. At the time was, I think, like $4.5 million. So definitely quite the blow to the pocketbook. I'd like to see their budget meeting, you know. All right, also into August was the T-Mobile hack. I don't know if any of you guys are using T-Mobile, but maybe you've seen an email from them to try to disseminate some of what's been going on, but huge data breach affected over 50 million people, not only their current customers, but previous customers and even prospective customers that they had sourced information on. So anything from names, addresses, social security numbers, huge, date of birth, pretty wild. Yeah, so there was a mastermind behind it, would never ever show his true identity, which he absolutely did. His name was John Binns. Took an interview with the Wall Street Journal to kind of talk about why he did it. He was a US citizen, grew up US citizen, moved to Turkey like 3 years ago, had the capabilities to conduct the attack. So he allegedly alone did the attack. Didn't do it, so he says, for money, did it to prove a point that T-Mobile has terrible security and they were really easy to get into. But he did not disclose if he took a payment for the attack or if he had sold any of the data that he had gotten access to. Now, this one's not too heavy on like strict cybersecurity. This is actually kind of just something that's been going on and been talked about recently, but it is kind of in the framework of your own personal security. So I don't know if some of you guys have heard, but Apple has gone ahead and looked into implementing a software that will be scanning your iOS images to try to combat child abuse. So an Apple spokesperson said this software would only detect child abuse images in the iCloud, which users can disable at any time, which, you know, if you can just turn it off, I'm kind of wonder what the point is anyway. But it's just something to think about. So, Apple's always kind of made that a keystone of their policies was privacy. But a lot of data experts nowadays are kind of calling that into question after a policy like this that they're trying to push, because, sometimes it can be a slippery slope. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Oh, all good, man. All right, so thank you, Matt, for current events. All right, so now moving on to our Where Are They Now segment. We got one of our alumni here, Jonathan Singer, who is in the Zoom, I believe. John, if you want to speak up, I think you can unmute. Can you?
I do. Somebody gave me host privileges.
Can y'all hear him? Yeah, awesome. All right, take it away, John.
Oh, I didn't know I was doing this on my own. All right. So hello, everybody. If you participated in last week's first meeting of the semester, you may have been introduced to this handsome gentleman up here on the slides. But actually, I've been gone for quite a while. I graduated back in 2013, but that was shortly after helping found the Hack UCF Club. A little bit of fun facts about me is actually I was an IT major at the time, although, Hack UCF definitely appeals to all majors, whether it is stuff like computer engineering, computer science, or even stuff outside of technology. But let's talk about where I'm at today, right? It's been a long road since then. I've actually been consulting in the cybersecurity industry with a company called GuidePoint Security. With that, today I'm managing a team of really talented engineers delivering awesome professional services for customers. And what that means is I support a slew of products, stuff like Splunk that you may have heard of. And our team of engineers delivers a engineering service to customers better than the vendor can do it. And so what I'm saying is we do things better than the company who designed the product themselves. And so I have a lot of fun doing that. I've kind of worn a lot of hats over the years with this organization. Another fun fact that's not on these slides is I've actually continued on to get my master's degree. And so I currently hold a master's in cybersecurity from the University of South Florida. Not very proud that I went to USF, nor do I affiliate with the Bulls. I will always be UCF, go Knights. And some certifications that I have today that actually I find value in. I've collected a handful of SANS certifications, so all of the Gs, GCAA, GCFE, GWAP-T, and GPEN. And I also have my certified ethical hacker known as CEH. And some fun facts about me. I love all things tech. I'm genuinely just like a huge nerd. This is what I do day in and day out. Even those cars, those BMW shown in this picture, there's a reason. Those cars are hackable. They run Linux. I implore you to figure it out. I love circuit board design, 3D printing, public speaking. In my spare time, I'm a goon at DEF CON. That's also known as a staff member. And I'm a proud husband. Along with many of you, hopefully, I'm a native Floridian. I've been here my entire life and I have yet to leave the state. That's a little bit about me. And feel free to reach out to me anytime about Hack UCF and the history of things. Although the advisory board that you're dealing with today runs the show, if you're ever interested in how this club got started, or if you want to do some really cool stuff at UCF too, it's jsinger@hackucf.org.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? Yeah, what's up?
What's your favorite text editor?
So we have a question from Jake.
Nano.
What is your Nano? It's Nano.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other serious questions?
That was serious.
I got a kind of question. What's your favorite programming language?
So question is, what is your favorite programming language?
Visual Basic 6.0.
Wow.
And another question from behind the podium. What would you say, what operating system does that car behind you run? Like what distro?
It's called QNX. It's a variation of Linux, and you can access a root FTP accessible server over the OBD port using a twisted pair to OBD connector.
Nice.
Not the answer I was expecting, but I like it.
Yeah, check it out. QNX. It's like an automotive Linux distribution for the infotainment system.
So, John, if there were any interested members that wanted to learn more about the CAN bus and or automotive hacking, is that something that you would be able to talk to them about?
Yeah, or I can point them to the wonderful resources of the Car Hacking Village at DEF CON, who provide wonderful talks on YouTube and great information about how to get started in abusing all things planes, boats, cars.
Cool. Sounds fun. All right. Thank you, John. I appreciate you dropping by. We're going to move on to our next topic.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. All right, so tool time is back, and this week we've got Connor who will walk us through everything.
Cool. Hello. So my name is Connor, and I'll be going over OSINT framework and applications for job hiring.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
You can
Sure.
also pick up the mic.
Cool. Testing. Oh, okay. Interesting. Is it working?
You just like click it once.
Oh, cool.
No.
Got all technical difficulties.
I'll just try to speak louder.
Grab the other microphone. No,
Testing. Yeah, that's why that one's broken. Hello? Yeah, it's being weird. Okay. Yeah, it's green and it's barely working. Technology is hard.
it is. You just put on the charger. It's all fine. It was doing faster earlier.
Test. Testing. The button's jammed. I guess just speak up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I will do my best. I'm not the best speaker, but we'll see. So,
Thank you, Siri. Very cool.
cool. So before we get started, can I see a show of hands of how many of y'all have a social media account like LinkedIn, Facebook, etc.? Cool. And this is going to be very interesting for y'all because we're going into OSINT. But what is OSINT? What does it stand for? What does it mean? OSINT stands for Open Source Intelligence. So essentially, what does that mean? It means searching the World Wide Web for stuff. Anything that's on the World Wide Web, the internet, that you can Google and pull up, anything that is public, that is what OSINT is all about. It's about searching for information publicly available on the web. So like going to people's social media accounts, seeing stuff that they have, etc., and then using that information, which we'll get into later. Can anyone tell me the difference between the World Wide Web and the internet though? Besides,
Okay.
anyone in the audience? You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Would the internet include all traffic across like no matter what port it would be on, I guess you could say, or protocol? While wouldn't the World Wide Web mainly consist of HTML and web pages? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, so the World Wide Web, for those that don't know the distinction, is what you see when you go to a web browser and search something. That's the, yes. Sort of, you're actually pretty close. What he said for the people on Zoom was, is it essentially World Wide Web being the surface web? And yes, it is the surface web, because for those that don't know, there's sort of 3 levels of web. There's the surface web, which is the first page of results that you see. Then there's the deep web, which will be the next page of results that no one really goes to. And then there's the dark web, which we're not going to get into for now. But the World Wide Web is indeed that. It is the surface web and the deep web. And essentially, it's what you can access via a search engine. While as the internet essentially means connected devices on a network. However, what isn't OSINT is hacking. Well, this is a hack club. Searching, when you're doing the open source intelligence, you're not actually going to log into other people's accounts. That's considered active hacking. You're going to be doing passive reconnaissance. You're going to be gathering information. That's why it's called open source intelligence. You're just gathering the stuff. So what is the OSINT, Open Source Intelligence Framework? This is a collection of resources for conducting open source intelligence. It's really big, really cool. It's like a tree, and then you can pick on different sources depending on what you want to do. For example, if you're trying to search for a specific person to look up their records or background check them, they have tools for that. They also have resources for browsing anonymously using Tor or malware analysis as well, operational security, and much, much more. If you want to check it out, and we'll be going to it later in the presentation, but there's a QR code for that as well if y'all want to pull it up and start looking to see what it's all about. Does anyone have any questions so far about what open source intelligence is, internet? Sounds good. So we'll keep moving right along because we'll be coming back to that too. How can we apply open source intelligence to jobs? How many people are looking for a job currently? Great, a lot of you. So this is going to be really important because when you're applying for a job, you want to make sure you have a cover letter. A cover letter is essentially a letter that you write to your specific company that you're applying to. Unlike your resume, which is more sort of like a general thing that you can sort of use between multiple companies in a sense, the cover letter is going to be specifically toward the company explaining, hello, how I can help the company, etc. One cool tip though, is that you can find your hiring manager. If you can locate or figure out who your hiring manager is or your interviewer, you can tailor the cover letter to fit the hiring manager. So like, let's say the hiring manager has certain interest in coding and stuff. You can then bring those instances up during your interview and create personal connections, which will be helpful. However, this may be hard due to the size of the company. Google or big companies like that will probably have multiple hiring managers. Another part is getting insider scoop of information, figuring out how companies want you to format resumes. Going back to that Google example, Google actually has videos and websites posted on how they want you to format your resume. So it's really just helpful to know that information so you can tailor it because that's what they want. You can also look up basic facts about the company, such as how much should you be getting paid, the work environment, company policies, and other interesting questions that you can ask or talk about during the interview to make you seem knowledgeable about the company. And that's going to really mean a lot. If you show interest that you're interested in the company during an interview, that's going to mean a lot to the interviewer and demonstrate that, hey, this dude's going to be loyal to the company. So here we're going to go to our live demonstration. Do you want to use your computer? I can.
The HDMI cable should be like down there.
You're also gonna have to join the Zoom meeting and create.
Yeah. Can you jump?
I don't have an HDMI port.
Oh, that's fine.
That's an issue.
That's okay. We'll just do it live here then. And everyone can see that? Awesome.
Cool. So one thing to consider when you're doing open source intelligence is that you do want to try to remain anonymous in a sense while you're conducting the searches. You don't want someone, your target, to know that you're actually doing these searches, because that might be a little suspicious. LinkedIn, for example, depending on your settings, if you're logged into LinkedIn, then it will show you, hey, this person viewed your LinkedIn page. So you probably don't want to do that, but that's just something to keep in mind. So one of the things that we can search for is like, well, how many people want to apply to Google out of curiosity? Do a show of hands. How many people want to apply to a Google? Microsoft? Lockheed Martin?
The NSA?
We could just do a bunch of them. I didn't.
Yeah, let's not do.
Yeah.
They might not like that.
I'm just gonna do Google because I know there's stuff already there for it. But the same principles and stuff that we're looking for will apply to any company, big or small. So it's really just easy as typing. Oh, why are you using Google? That's a good question. But essentially, you just type in what you want and it brings it to you. That's how easy this open source intelligent stuff is. You just type it into the search bar and boom, it brings it to you. Personally, I would recommend using a browser such as DuckDuckGo, because Google is going to tailor your responses to each individual person, meaning that if I search something like Google resume information and you search the same thing, we could both get two different results, and that's gonna mess things up. But that's how easy that was. You can also apply it to like searching for your hiring manager as well for that interview. I'm gonna do myself just because you really don't want to do this open source intelligence if you don't have explicit permission against a person per se, because that's going to come off creepy, and there are laws against cyber stalking. So just be mindful of that. We all did sign an ethics form too, if you voted. Dang. So yeah, so essentially you can pretty much find, like, there's my LinkedIn account. Over the course, you can check, see where the connections are. Sometimes accounts will have links that will take you to other social media platforms as well. And you can use that sort of to hop around and stuff. We'll now be looking at the OSINT framework tool that I talked to you about. And this is sort of the tree that I was describing, and I think some of y'all pulled it up already. But here has all the different resources for open source intelligence. For example, if you wanted to pull up usernames, public records, business records, that's probably what you want to look for when for job applications, because it's going to give you how to resources for finding resumes, for companies, for applying, stuff like that. It's literally just as easy as searching stuff online. there's really not much to it.
So Connor, just
Yes.
to kind of like jump in here real quick. If you can do this for companies, is it likely that companies are probably going to do this for you when you apply?
Oh, definitely. Companies actually already do this during the job application. Some companies will actually search your profile. They'll see, like, they'll search your name, see what social media accounts they can come up with, and use that to determine the type of behavior. Like if you have an Instagram account and you just post partying pictures, that's maybe not someone who they want to hire because it doesn't show responsibility or something. So if you do have public accounts, try to be mindful of what you do post, because companies will look at what's publicly available to them to assess what type of employee you're going to be, because it's public information. Thank you for bringing that up. Are there any questions? Yes.
I just want to clarify that, like, cyber stalking in the sense of like Googling things is not illegal. Cyber stalking and doxing and like harassment and like revenge is like illegal. Googling is not illegal.
Exactly. Using the information to do bad things is not good. Anyone else? Yes.
So not a question, more of a comment. If you wanted to make more pointed search queries on Google, there's a thing called Google lurking. And you look at the top right part of that thing, it says Google hacking. Click on it. It'll show you like all the operators you can use on Google. Make way more pointed searches. You can find some good stuff. Just be careful about what you open and what you download. Because people have been known about, for example, IRS forms, voter registration is public records. So there's a lot of stuff out there that you can find if you are actually looking for it.
Indeed. And yeah, definitely knowing how to search is helpful. Luckily, I'm pretty sure all of these same things that apply to Google will also apply to other search engines as well, because they're sort of based off of similar things. So if you use some of the same like tips and tricks here for searching on Google to help refine your searches, they'll work for pretty much any search engine as well. If there's nothing else or no other questions, I'll turn it back over to y'all.
Hey, Connor. All right, so now we're going to get to the resume post-mortem. We're going to try to run through this pretty quick. This is just meant to be an overview of things that like mistakes you might have made or you might have like made in the past, why you might not want to make them, and kind of like lessons we've learned along the way. We're going to start off with my resumes, which are atrocious. They're getting better though. Then we're going to be followed by Jeffrey, and then Connor will join us with a set of resumes as well. Following that, we'll have an open forum for Infosec Careers Q&A. So anyone that wants to ask a question, either in the audience or in Zoom, can chime in, ask a question, and we'll try to answer to the best of our ability. All right, so I know that you probably can't see this super clear because I'm really bad at presentations, but to highlight a couple of things, I've got my address listed here. So this is the resume that I made in 2018. This is for a school project. I just wanted to get something out the door and I didn't really care about it. Problem being, I've got my address listed because it was a requirement for the assignment, but realistically, no one needs your address. No one really sends like mail to your house anymore. There are better ways to drop like contact information about how someone can get in touch with you. In addition, I don't have any projects listed, and as a CS major and or like anyone who's working in a career that's based upon like what it is that you do, that's what employers want to see. My education is like a super low section of my resume. So someone has to scan through my objective, a summary, skills and abilities, just to get down to see like when it is that I might be graduating. Because for many employers, especially for internships, that's a super big deal. They want like if you're getting interviewed for a job, they don't want to interview freshmen. They don't want to interview sophomores in most cases. They are looking to target their searches for like juniors at the end of their junior year or seniors at any point, right? And a projected graduation date, which is on there, is a great thing to do. Unfortunately, I did not start my education at UCF. I started at a smaller college. And the thing that I was told every single time I put this resume in front of anyone was, we don't care where you went. We know that you're at UCF. We understand the UCF pipeline. We understand what you're going to go through. So we don't need that information. Likewise with the relevant coursework. That was another thing that came up time and time again. They don't care for you to highlight what coursework you've done. They know what the school is. They've hired enough people from this school to know. And even if they didn't know, all that information is available publicly via UCF's website. They will know essentially where you're at. And if they care, they'll ask you in the interview. So I'm also a veteran. And this is something that like a lot of people kind of like tiptoe and dance around. If you are a vet, I'm going to speak to you real quick in the audience, right? They tell you all the way through getting out of the military that that's a big deal, right? Put that on your resume. People care to see that. Sometimes, more often than not, they don't care. They really do not care. If they do, they'll ask. If you're listing this because you're trying to cover some kind of a gap in your resume as far as like employment history and things like that, go for it, because it is good to know that like what it is that you have done, and it does raise it for them to bring up. But realistically, they're way more interested in what it is you've done lately, who it is that you have worked for in industry. Don't rely on putting like that you were in the military as some kind of like way that they're going to elevate you. That very rarely happens to be the case. And in addition, there's so much white space in this resume. It's kind of like sad. There are so many other things that could be like listed in here, taking up this space, and I'm just wasting it with a bunch of like blank like area. Continuing on to the next iteration of that, a lot better use of white space. I've got some projects up there. That's awesome. So once again, I'm still listing my my mailing address because I was slow to learn. Major improvement was bringing education to the top. I got a lot more hits on resumes and a lot more positive feedback because that was right there at the top. Projects following directly underneath that shows them essentially like where it is that I'm like getting through my coursework and what it is that I've chosen to do while I have been here, because you do get a little bit of choice over the electives that you take. Continuing on, I see my employment section is a little bit better, more balanced, but once again, is any of this industry relevant? Does anyone care that I worked at this company or that company when that's not even the industry that I'm applying for? They don't really. Like, it's good to know that you've been employed before and that someone has been happy with the work that you've done. But if you can fill that extra space with something that's more relevant, you really, really should think about doing it. Once again, white space is better on this resume, but I still got this technical experience bar right here that's just full of blank space, which can be better put to use. So this is getting a little bit better. You see the resume is a little bit more balanced out. There's a little bit of color, which is actually like acceptable. I've got my LinkedIn up there. The projects still could use some improvement. Basically what's up there is coursework, and that's not super great. There's some more interesting stuff as it's filling the list, but once again, you should probably put your passion projects up there versus like the stuff that you've done for coursework. White space is fixed in the technical experience bar. It's a little bit better balanced. And industry experience, even if it's an internship, even if you work just super, super low part-time, if you're hanging out and just like doing things that are industry related, that is such a much better place to put on your resume. And getting out to where it is that I've got my resume right now. This was done for an RFP for the teams. Oh, sorry. It's a little bit better balance. It's better use of color, and I'm starting to get a little bit more positive feedback on this. So that's my resumes. Jeffrey, if you want to come up here and fill us in on yours.
Sure thing. So let me show you my first resume. So as you could see, like some of the things that Daniel did point out, it's not listed here, but my address was on my resume and a few other things that really are ugly. So let's put the arrows on screen. So first, I did this resume in LaTeX, and I'm not saying you should, it's an option, but that's what I ended up doing. But you can see I forgot how to indent, or more accurately, I just didn't know how. That looks extremely unprofessional, and I'm sure when Palo Alto saw that resume, they're like, can you even LaTeX, bro? Another few things on top of indenting is that, as Daniel mentioned, these margins are very thick. They could be a lot thinner, and that'll allow you to put more stuff on your resume, and also doesn't make it seem like you're just trying to pad for space. Another thing which is kind of more related to LaTeX is that links. I did have links on there, and I think it's a pretty all right idea to have them, but they're not clear. They're just these blue boxes, and that's a default LaTeX thing. And another thing is that pro of this resume, it's only one page. I just kind of cut it into 2 halves. But do I really need a page number? So thankfully, a few months later, I was able to get this a bit better under control. For one, the Discord reference from that sample resume is no longer, hence the redaction. So one of the good things about this resume is I finally figured out how to indent stuff on LaTeX properly. So it doesn't look like, for lack of a better word, trash. But there are a few other things. This resume, I did introduce relevant coursework. You really don't need that. Like, it does help to see that, hey, I know how to do these things, especially if you're applying to a firm that might not be familiar with your university. And also, I am now bullet pointing things, so it's easier to read because whoever's reading this resume, whether they're a human or a robot, they're not going to try to grammatically parse your sentences. Try to make it as digestible as possible. Another thing is that some of the specific things in the bullet points could be better. One of the biggest things is sentence structure. Try to keep it somewhat parallel. So like starting, if you have like a sentence that's like representing or presenting, like keep it consistent. This resume did not do that. And also one of my least favorite things about this resume is that there's a few of these bullet points like, okay, like a few hundred people participate in Sunshine CPF. The employer doesn't care. Why I made this project, employer doesn't care. And this is literally just a single line for a project I made in 3 hours one evening. I don't think that needs to be on my resume. So now let's skip forward a few months and way too many people looking over my resume. And this is my resume as of like yesterday. So what's good about this resume and what's bad? So I'd say one of the best parts is that my graduation is a lot more clear. Instead of kind of being to present, it clearly states I'm going to graduate sometime in May 23 if all goes according to plan. Another thing is it has relevant work experience and skills. So if you looked at my previous resume, not just was the skills kind of short, but I was also younger then. But like it talks about a lot of more software development stuff and like stuff like Premiere Pro, which no one really cares about. Still on my resume now, but that could be improved upon. Another thing on top of cyber things is that this in the corner is the last updated. So actually a professor told me this trick is that this way you can know like how old that resume is, and your whoever you're applying to knows when you update your resume to see if it's the most accurate. I'd say a thing I could improve on this resume is that the end dates, especially for my employment experience and Hack UCF, it might be a bit confusing because Y is present in the middle. So it might be better to just swap those two. And then finally, I don't have a slide because it's later on, but your resume is going to change a lot. It's not going to be this one thing that is static. You're going to have to like show it to people who've written their own resumes, friends, people in the industry, to kind of get some feedback on how to essentially refine your resume into the best version of itself. And with that, I'm going to pass it to you.
Quick question. What is LaTeX for people that don't know?
Good. Thank you for asking. LaTeX, so you might be familiar with something like Microsoft Word or Markdown. LaTeX is sort of a markdown language that allows you to use way too complicated syntax to typeset documents. So it makes good looking papers pretty much. It's widely used in academia and was one of the reasons I decided to write mine in LaTeX was because at the time I was doing a lot of math heavy stuff, being a computer scientist and all. So take it over.
Cool. So it's real interesting. I do think this is a very important topic to go over, resume creation and how to apply for technical jobs, because a lot of people are going to tell you a lot of conflicting information, and you just really have to go, what are the common things people are telling me, and sort of make a resume off of that. So I'll tell you a little bit about what I did. Here's my first resume I did. As you can see, it's just one page, but some of the good things about it was that I put it in reverse chronological order. Companies, when using your resumes, they want to see the most relevant experience, the most recent experience, or the most recent education towards the top. That way they read it as the first thing. That's why you want to put yours in reverse chronological order, because ascending to descending is helpful for the employees. Had the dates existed, which was helpful, and it's all one column, and having resumes in one column is very good because a lot of companies are going to use AI, especially bigger ones, because they get a lot of resumes each year and stuff. So they're going to use artificial intelligence to scan your document, and having it in one column is going to make it easier for it to read, and more likely that the AI is going to approve your resume. Some of the bad things about it, though, it's more than one page. As you can see, there's technically 4 pages. Not really proud of that, but again, it's really with the conflicting information. Back in my day, I was told that this was a fine resume, but apparently it's not, and everyone says use one page. So you definitely want to do what the current trends are and just use one page. It also makes it easier. Employees sort of like connecting it to the World Wide Web. No one's going to go to the next page of Google results and stuff like that, because usually everything is on that first page. Just like with resumes, people are just going to look at the first page and not even go on to the next pages. So you want everything on one page.
Do you mind if I interject for a second?
Sure.
So like he does mention a one-page resume, and yes, it is generally a good idea to keep your resume to one page. One of the talking to like some faculty here, one of the main reasons that is the case is because, especially as a college student, you might not have much experience and you don't want to overly fluff up your resume. You want to be concise like any writing. And that's one of the reasons why employers are preferring one-page resumes. It's forcing you to choose only the most important experiences for that specific job, so they don't have to read potentially pages of, for lack of a better word, useless stuff. So it's definitely more of getting to the point, unlike me in this sentence.
Exactly. I was going to say something, but I forgot. But yeah, keep it one page. Keep the information that you also put relevant. One thing that I did here is I put a lot of irrelevant stuff. Also, a lot of stuff I did in high school. Now that you're all college students, which I presume everyone here is mostly a college student, or at least past high school. Everything you did in high school, employees aren't really going to care about it. It's too long. You want to start using your college experiences and your college stuff that you do in college, your education, clubs, stuff like that. That's what you want to put on your resume instead of stuff you did in high school, because that's really outdated now. Use up as much space as possible. Sort of like what Daniel was mentioning, white space. You want to make sure that you crunch everything together, just so you can fit more on the page and also keep it more compact for that more information. Also, don't use templates. This was a template that I used off one of my school's resources. Templates are sort of nice because they show you how a resume should look, but you don't want to fill in a template because employers know when you just copy and paste into a template, and that doesn't really look professional. You want to make it somewhat unique to you, however you do it, but you just don't want to use a generic template that they've seen already. You want to make it stand out. So I revised it. This is next resume. As you can see, I got it down to, I kept things relevant, so I put more technical information, improved on white space, and got it down to 1 page. Getting it down to 1 page is really key, and improving on white space as well. Not using a template is also a pretty big thing. I don't know how many y'all have resumes, but you want to keep trying to get information and compact it more and more. Like with this one, as you can see, it's sort of unorganized and repetitive. There's multiple contact information, some at the beginning, some at the end. That's gonna create a mess, unfortunately, for the employer reading it, also for the AI scanning it as well. There's also still a lot of white space. Definitely a key thing, cut down to white space. If there's anything to leave from this taking, it's to cut down the white space on your resume. Also, I do have coding languages. That's some of the things. I don't know how many of y'all how many of y'all do plan to go into like a programming field or career in the future? Cool. So yeah, you definitely want those at the top of your resume. Depending on what career you're going, depends on what you put at the top. For example, some majors and stuff want to put education on the top, especially if you don't have a lot of job experience that's relevant. But for coding or programming careers and stuff, you definitely want to put what languages you know at the top, because that's what employers are going to see to make sure you're actually qualified for the job. So finally, with this is the current one that I'm using. Got it down to more compact. I reorganized, added more keywords and fluff for the AI. Keywords are important. You want to make sure that you put the right words that you know for the job you're applying. A lot of descriptive words, stuff like that. Added more relevant skills to take up more space, and improve the contact info to make it all that one line on the top. Out of curiosity, how many of y'all have a LinkedIn account? That's good to hear. Your LinkedIn is essentially going to be like your second resume, because it's already sort of formatted in a resume type thing, and employees are definitely going to check that. So it's a good thing to put on your resume because it's professional, but it's also helps you with the resume creation process. So still, there's some issues with this. It has too much fluff, sort of like what was mentioned earlier. You don't want to have it too fluff. You do want it to be relevant skills that you've actually done instead of just descriptive skills. So need to remove goal about me section. And then, like I said before, get rid of all that high school information because it's outdated now that we're all college students. Rewording is definitely going to be something, and skills again haven't been moved up to the top. That's because I'm still working on it. Are there any questions about resume process? Or I guess that's actually next line. I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of honing back to what I said. Like, your first resume is going to probably suck a little bit, and that's okay. Because especially like if you are new to the industry, you need to get experience by like actually doing things, being active, shameless plug in Hack UCF, and like just in the industry, and like eventually your resume will evolve and get to a point where I guess you can be happy with it. So also shout out to like the 20 different people who looked over my resume. You will know who you are. You are awesome.
Couple of side notes on things that we mentioned in that LinkedIn is a great tool. It is a tool and it is not a magic bullet. it is going to provide you a lot of spam and it's going to waste your time, a lot of time. But it's also a fantastic way to get connected to people as well as put yourself out there so that you can establish those connections. So make sure that you're using it, but don't rely on it to like actually solve the problem of getting you an internship or getting you that job. Additionally, one thing that we didn't really like focus on that you should like really do is like rebuild your resume for the job you're applying to every single time. It's great to have a basic, a format, something that you can pull information from. But if you're not tailoring your resume to the job that you're applying for, you're probably going to get overlooked. Spoke a little bit about machine learning in the resume review process, and that's absolutely true, particularly like in the tech industry. Your resume is going to get chunked into a machine, and it's going to go over it, and it's going to give you a score, and that's going to get kicked back down to HR at some point if you're lucky. One way that you can improve that is by using the keywords that they give you in the interview overview or the applicant overview section. The more that you build those keywords and that language into the resume, the more likely you are to go across a human's eyes in HR, and the more likely you are to get a callback in a phone screening. From this, we're going to continue on to Infosec Careers Q&A. This is open forum, so if you have something that you want to know, or you don't really know like what you should be doing right now to get yourself headed down the path to get a career in Infosec, go ahead and like raise your hand, ask those questions. Same thing, we've got someone monitoring Zoom, Jake, right? You're like watching the chat in Zoom? Yep. Cool, so all right, if you got questions, feel free, ask them. If not, we will wrap shortly after this. Anyone want to be the first one to jump in? Sure. That's a great question. So the question was, how accessible is the industry directly out of college? And the answer to that is it depends. Depends on what you do while you're at college. One thing that a lot of people don't speak about in InfoSec and in cybersecurity is that most jobs require like 4 to 5 years of experience before you can really be considered for them. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get into a career right after graduation or while you're still here. It just means that you need to be spending your time developing skills so that you can answer questions that are going to screen you out of having those opportunities. So if you do projects, if you do home labbing, if you work on stuff, if you show up to workshops, if you CTF, all of those things will like really greatly help you out in bridging that gap. But great question. Yeah, what's up?
So say, for example, you're already established industry professional and have been through several jobs before, like in the past, but then are in a certain position where you either for personal reasons or any other reasons that you have to take, like leave a gap in your resume. What would be the best way to explain that to an interview?
So the question was, how do you explain gaps in employment history and or education for any kind of sabbatical or leave of absence? And the answer to that is, once again, it depends on your situation. Why did you take that leave, right? Was it for personal growth? Was it for development? Can you spin that in a way that sounds good to the interviewer? Did you just decide that you were burnt out and you wanted to grow potatoes? If you did, then perhaps there's some value in what it is that you did in that time that you can lend into a personal like growth story that will help you out there. If you end up, and I'm not saying that this is a common experience amongst anyone, but let's just highlight a very potentially negative experience, right? Let's say that you make a big mistake, right? And you end up in jail, right? That's difficult to recover from. One of the things that you can do to speak about an inability to show growth in industry is just to be upfront and honest about what's going on. Half of the time when you get fielded a question that seems unfair in an interview, it's intentionally meant to be unfair. They want to see how it is that you respond. It's not necessarily that you're going to give the right answer. It's that you're going to give the best answer that you can give in that situation. So I hope that kind of answers your question. If not, do you want to specify?
No.
Cool. Do we have something from?
Yeah, where would you start in InfoSec job-wise?
Okay, so the question is, where should you begin trying to get an internship or a job in information security or cybersecurity? And also, great question. Usually, there are a bunch of positions that are fielded by the university that you attend. I know that UCF puts out feelers every now and again for open positions they have in UCF IT or any of the other college branch ITs. And in addition, occasionally an information security position does come along, so you can go that route. In addition, we have a bunch of employers that come down to speak, and that's a fantastic way to talk to them directly to see what it takes to get into their company. You can attend things like job fairs and career fairs, and you can speak to companies that have whole information security divisions. I know for a fact that we have Deloitte that shows up. We have Lockheed Martin that shows up. I believe Raytheon shows up pretty consistently. All of those companies have great divisions that do information security amongst like a whole host of others. A great way to get that information is also just to ask. We have a whole personal networking section in the Discord. Usually it's just a graveyard of LinkedIn links, but if you want better ways to connect and network and figure out who to talk to, that's a fantastic place to do it. You can also approach any of us at any time if you have a specific question or you want to know if we know someone, we'll get you hooked up. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I'll also add, Handshake's amazing. We linked to it earlier on in the slide deck, but Handshake and just other similar like university job boards, they're looking to recruit specifically from UCF, meaning they know that UCF students are high quality and that they want you in the company. So if there's a position open on Handshake, I jump for it. Another piece of advice that I kind of both seen firsthand and passed down from a friend is there's a site called Ripple Match, which is supposed to kind of match you to potential job opportunities. And apparently they have a pretty high success rate. So like kind of looking on some of these like job forums where you know you're the person they're looking for, like will help a lot.
Definitely. Yeah, what's up?
I just wanted to comment on that again. If anyone has gotten federal work study through FAFSA, if you want to get a job X for UCF, they have a ton of IT positions that allows you to work for the school, really flexible hours that work around your schedule. There are even one or two junior cyber analyst positions for UCF. I actually just got hired on to the IT side, and they're basically like, what's your school schedule? We'll work around it. If you have stuff that comes up with finals that, like my boss is like when finals comes around, don't even worry about coming to work. So that's an awesome way to get experience while you're going to school.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, work study is definitely an option, helps pay for college as well.
Anyone else got questions? Yeah, what's up?
If you're just starting out, you mentioned a lot of things like job experience, you got TTF, certification. As a student, you have limited time. What's the most important thing to work on first?
Question. Well, the first and most important thing to work on is your coursework, right? You are going to need a college degree in almost every single case. There are exceptions if you're incredibly talented where you don't need a degree. I'm not going to convince you to go down that path. If you end up there, congratulations, you won. If not, you get to work like the rest of us to get a degree and continue on. So if you're not doing your coursework, if your grades aren't up, you're going to have a difficult time getting an internship or getting a job. But specifically for information security, if you don't want to take advantage of what you have here at UCF, and you just want to kind of go it your own way, getting certifications is a fantastic way to kind of give you a good baseline and introduction into the field. I know that there are plenty of federal positions that do not hire anyone that does not have Security Plus. So if you want to pick up a cert, CompTIA Security Plus is a great place to start. There are a bunch of other ones that cover a wide range of different topics that also help. If you are trying to tailor your coursework and you want a little bit more experience, you can also take the Scan Minor, and there are a number of other certs that UCF provides, right? Matt, you're doing one of them.
Yeah, I'm doing the cyber operations certificate. It's not a certificate in the traditional sense, like you don't have to, it's like has to be like you study for it. It's just a bunch of classes you have to take. And it encompasses like malware analysis, it's electives like digital forensics, cybersecurity. It also incorporates computer architecture, requires a bunch of CS related classes. So if you're a CS major, you practically have like 50% of it done by the time you're graduating. Or like as you're taking it, you get a lot of it done, like system software, security and computing, CS1. I'm just thinking on the top of my head, but it's very fun. I'm doing it. But yeah.
Another great way, as stated a little bit earlier, was to do CTFs and to get a lot of experience that way, because a lot of what CTFs are built for is to give you industry experience. It is a fun like, game and it is competitive, but it is also teaching you how to do things all along the way. And it doesn't matter if you show up and solve the challenges during the competition. There are write-ups that happen every single time, and you are very much encouraged to do write-ups if you solve challenges. These write-ups as blog posts or additions to like an affiliated like organization's website or your own website are fantastic ways to point like prospective employers back to you and say, yeah, I did this, I did that, I did this. They can read through your work and they can see exactly what kind of quality work you put out there and do, right? It's literally the easiest way in the industry is just to compete and have fun. Does that answer your question? Cool.
Yeah, and I would like elaborate, like if you're doing a CTF, you might like feel like, oh, I'm not getting anywhere. Keep at it. Like eventually you'll have enough skills to be able to like do a challenge. And once you get to that point, like it just kind of like snowballs. So I just say sometimes just stick at it.
Yeah,
I think I saw a question over there. Yeah.
Software engineering. So those are kind of different one experience that they would want to have.
Yeah.
Your commitment, that like tailoring your time and your limited time to one side, or do you think that like that having experience in like cybersecurity would help you kind of get that software engineering?
So the best way to answer that is also it depends on your situation, right? Do you want to do secure software development? Or do you want to do security tool development, right? Like, what do you plan to do? If you're looking to just do more general software development, definitely spend the majority of your time learning software development. That's going to be the basis of your focus. If you're looking to like apply and build security tools, right, then you might want to focus more on the security side and do them like a bit at a time. Jake, I know that you had something else to say.
Yeah, you know, having like a broad knowledge of like a couple different fields is really, really useful. There might be like some situations where like you're doing security and like you're doing like some repetitive task and like maybe like writing like a little script in,
Pardon that.
maybe like writing like a little script in Python can be like really useful, but like you don't have to do that, right? You could obviously just like do the same task over and over and over. So you know, you don't need like software development if you want to like go do like Infosec like security stuff. You like 100% do not need to know how to code. But like, you know, if you're coding and you have a broad knowledge of like some like cybersecurity stuff, like that can also be super useful. But learn about what you want to learn about. Don't just learn about it because you think you have to, right? Like invest time in what you enjoy doing. There's plenty of jobs for security and software development. You'll find something with what you want to do.
Yeah, and that's a corollary to that. Like, I think there are sometimes like security professionals that might not have that like Python experience. And sometimes it does help to like on a day-to-day, like write a quick tool to do a menial task like repetitively. Like it's a super valuable skill to even just have basic programming knowledge in cyber.
Yeah, also like what I do for work is I do a lot of like server management. And I didn't know like a whole lot of like I knew Bash, I knew how to like CD and LS and nano like stuff, but like I didn't really like know like a whole lot about like any sort of like Bash scripting or anything like that, like going into the job. And I was like a lot of like those jobs too, like you have time to learn stuff and kind of like take a couple days to get up to speed, learn some things. So like it's totally okay to also like go into a job thinking I might need some broad knowledge of this, but I don't actually have the experience yet. You can go into that job and then like kind of pick up some things while you're doing it. That's what I did.
Yeah, the kind of like on a job posting, like the thing they list of like qualifications, a lot of times it's a wish list. They'll say they wish you had 10 years of Swift experience, but Swift hasn't existed for 10 years. So actually, I'm pretty sure it hasn't existed for 10 years last time I checked. But point is, like, they just want to like get the best candidate. And if you don't have one or two things on the requirements list, apply.
There's a there's like a question in the Zoom that just popped up that like you kind of like already started to answer. It's how can someone with some IT experience make the switch to Infosec career without having start at an entry level role? Do you have any advice? Yeah, just apply. You'd be surprised actually the amount of skills that you already have if you have some IT experience. Like, you know, you'll be able to pick up like a lot of like Infosec tools like really quickly if what you do is IT.
There's a caveat there too, and it's on it like needs to be broached too.
Speak up a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. So like there's a caveat there. The idea of just like shooting your shot and seeing what happens is great, right? Because what's the worst they're gonna tell you? They're not gonna call you back, whatever, you move on to the next one. But let's say like you do, and then you show up to the interview and you don't have experience doing this. This is a junior role, and they start fielding you a bunch of like security related questions. The best thing that you do is just be honest about what it is that you do and don't know, and ask them, are you looking for someone that has all that knowledge right now? Or do you want someone that you can like train and like adapt to the specific environment that you're in? More often than not, your personality and how you do in the interview is going to matter just as much as your technical experience you have already. There are plenty of employers that are willing to work with you so long as like you're adaptable and you can pick things up quickly. Now, that doesn't mean if you don't know anything about the job at all that you should apply for it and like just go in there and like see if you're going to get hired. Because scary moment, let's say you do, you show up on job day one and they expect you to show up and do the job and you don't know anything, right? That's both scary and like very embarrassing, not to mention the fact that like if you mess something up, that's going to cost people money. So kind of take it a little bit at a time, right? Like apply for what you want, right? Do the interview, but be honest about what it is you do and do not know. More often than not too, as InfoSec and Cybersec is a rather small group of people that all know each other, if you show up and you lie, they will know, and they will know who you apply to next. And it's a bad way to start a career.
Yeah, please don't lie on your resume.
And
Just don't do it, please.
honestly, like having honesty there on your resume and your interview, even if you don't know much, like it's better to be honest, because if you're like willing to learn, that itself is something you can't, a willingness to learn is not something you can easily put on a resume, but you can really show it in an interview.
Are there any more questions in Zoom?
Nope.
Nope. All right, guys, we're getting close to 30, and I'm going to try to wrap this up here. Are there any other last questions that anyone wants to get out before we cut this off?
You're welcome to talk to any of us after the meeting too.
Absolutely.
If you like don't want to like talk out loud.
I should also mention, if you do the cyber ops certificate, you cannot do the scan miner. It's one or the other.
All right, so I guess we're gonna move on then. So next slide. All right, cool. Shameless plug for operations. If you want to help run the club, if you want to help build content, if you want to just meet and hang out with all of us because we're super awesome, you should come hang out on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. in the Cyber Lab, because that's where we meet up to organize and get all the stuff ready for each meeting. Continuing on, I want to just continue plugging the projects that we've got going on. We talked about stuff that you wanted to add to your resume, things that look really great. To highlight something, if you assisted in building private cloud and you want to work in like any kind of cloud development, that might be something that you would want to have on your resume. And we are constantly accepting new devs. Our infra dev crew is looking for JavaScript developers. If you've got Vue or
Nux.js.
Nux, yeah, Nux, Vue. If you've dabbled with JavaScript, if you're comfortable with it or you want to learn it, like ask about it, hit us up in Discord, or you can talk to any of our infrastructure crew. Y'all want to stand up real quick? Just like put a hand up maybe. Yeah, see these people.
Talk to them.
Continuing on website development, we are also constantly expanding, revising, and building a better website. So if you want to do web dev, you want to get experience doing that, we are constantly taking new people as well. Web dev crew, you want to put a hand up?
That's me.
Yay!
Sometimes.
Okay.
Connor.
Cool. Also, graphic design and marketing development. This is more like a smaller team. This is more like based around not having like super technical skills. but is really useful nonetheless. We're celebrating our 10th year anniversary, and we are designing some new logos for that. And we are also constantly developing new merch and banners and things. And I can't do it all myself, so please, dear God, someone help me. If you are interested in that at all, if you've done any graphic design experience in the past, or you can use paint, let me know, and I will try to help you along the way.
Oh, someone please make an MS Paint shirt.
I made a Comic Sans one. Does that count?
I made a Google image of Sonic. I think that works.
All right,
I thought
guys.
it was Mario, but okay.
Okay,
So-
also, if someone makes an MS Paint like design, I will put it on the shop. I'll do it.
Fun fact, a bad shirt costs us nothing to put on the shop. And if someone buys it, we made money.
Not a lot,
$5 is
like
$5.
$1 or $2.
All right, guys, this is the last one. Stay informed. If you haven't joined our mailing list, you should have, because you joined as a member. So join the mailing list. If you haven't checked out our shop, like that's where we keep all the merch. If you haven't joined our Discord, RGB all the way. Twitter, which we got added. Did we ever respond to that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We're on Twitter. Check us out there. Thank you very much for attending. Appreciate you all. Thank you for coming. Go back to slide.
What? Oh, spring. There's another event in the spring that Heather.
Is there?
Yes.
Fantastic. Good
Yeah.
stuff. In case anyone's interested, we are going to fall back to the Cyber Lab to hang out. We are also going to be starting to do Seesaw, and we may go get food after that. So if you want to hang out, you're more than welcome to. You can also come up and talk to us as we wrap up.
I'm gonna go get food. I'm hungry.
We need more tacos.
Start Seesaw? We already started.
We need more tacos.